Hi, ladies. Can I just squeeze in here? Oh, sorry, Mary. Okay, this is a scratching post, as you may have gathered. To do this, I just used a ton of hot glue, twine, and a board. This was an easy project that I think anyone could do with little to no crafting experience. I had a piece of like 1x8 wood laying around from a different project, and I had bought this huge chest of twine ages ago and needed to find a purpose for it or just get rid of it. So I grabbed the twine, my hot glue gun, and found this scrap piece of wood. I was like, yeah, okay, we're cooking. I was a little bit shocked by how well the hot glue held onto the wood. It's not coming off anytime soon, and the cats surely have tried. The little detail that I liked about this was doing the twine in kind of fun squiggly positions instead of just doing it like back and forth or in a spiral. And I've seen some really interesting string art and twine art lately where people have either glue or wax on the background and then they place the twine in very specific ways. So if I were to do this again, I think I would potentially get even more creative, maybe get different colors, try to do an image, although I don't know how well that would hold up. I do appreciate the simplicity of this one, and I specifically appreciate having hung it at a height where the cats, they can't reach this top bit when they're going to scratch their nails. And I like that the image of the twine remains intact at the beginning and the top and slowly gets like more and more disheveled as it goes onto the bottom, because it just feels like a natural, beautiful weathering to it as opposed to the whole thing just getting old and looking gross. I like this, like visually. I also like how it's just fixed to the wall. It's easily moved around the apartment. It doesn't take up any space, and that way the cats can have extra scratching posts. I had made another one of these that I can keep on the floor or move to the wall. That way they have, options that they can use. And they've used this one a couple times, but they don't seem to like it as much as this one. And I think that's mostly based on the location that it's stored in. But I like having cat scratchers that can at least be a little bit cute, don't take up space, are DIY-able. And the way I attach this to the wall is with Velcro command strips. It holds onto the wall exceptionally well. I like that it's maneuverable and I can just take these and move this to a whole different location just fine. I also thought about putting like a picture frame hook at the top, but then it would like rattle against the wall, which is not fun to hear. This is the perfect solution. It's renter friendly, it's movable, redoable, but it's held up really, really well. Now, the issue with command strips is they do not stick to wood, so I nailed in these tiny little, I don't know, half-inch nails, and that's allowed these command strips to stay intact really well. I personally haven't had any issues with my cats using these scratchers. I know with DIY scratchers, it's just, be careful, know your cat, keep an eye on them, making sure that the material that's being used is fresh, it's not like molding or anything, and keeping an eye on your cat's claws. If you're introducing a new cat scratcher of any kind is probably a good idea, just in case it's like there's some bacteria that, I don't know. I'm not an expert. Lucky for me, my cats have had zero issues and it's helped them have more access to cat scratchers around the apartment. Now, because pet videos bring out just the worst in the internet, disclaimer, because I have to, I have had all of these projects in my home for years. I've had zero problems with my cats using them. Everybody's cat is different, and I cannot sit there and approve every material that people are using. So just, keep your head on. Be just mindful of materials you're using. Keep an eye on your cats using things if you make things for them. And if you're really worried about something, always do your own research, even bring it up with their vet. When I first moved to Oregon, I bought this basket at Goodwill and I wanted it to, store my bread because we don't have a lot of pantry space in my apartment. And then the cats decided that the bread was really squishy and good for laying in. And this turned into the cat basket. So it no longer stores bread, but it does store our cats, specifically this crinkle mat. When they started claiming the basket, I was like, okay, I need to put a liner in there of some sort because their fur just got really gross at the bottom of this basket. Because it's a cute basket, right? This is a crinkle mat. I have made many of these. Crinkle material, I can't remember what brand I got or even like how I got it. And I made this just like a quilt. It's literally the same process as one would use to make a quilt. Instead of using just batting in between the layers, I used 1 layer batting and then 2 layers of this crinkly plastic material. Oh yeah, she's trying to face the camera. No, not trying to face the camera. It is not easy to hold a cat oh boy, when they're moving around. For this, I use scrap fabric. That's why there are different colored squares, and I kind of actually really like the effect of having my one big square be a different color. And the back is just the back. If you are more of a beginner at sewing, I would just look up a straight up tutorial for a quilt block. Find one that you like, follow that tutorial, make 4 of them, attach them together, boom, quilt. You also don't need to quilt it. It could just be a plain square. That's also okay. Or you can get really fancy with it if you find a like foundation paper piecing pattern and use that to make the top. There's just so many ways to make this creative and cute and fun, and it can just be as simple as you want. But the cats love this. They like their crinkle mat. And I didn't intend for it to fit in this basket. I just wanted to make the crinkle mat, but it fits pretty well in here. Very happy with this project. I have made multiple of these and given them away as gifts in the past. So yeah, good project. My only tip for this is to use a fabric that's easy to clean. I used plain quilter's cotton for this, and I had never cleaned it after like 2 years of owning it. And I just took the vacuum to it, one swipe with the vacuum, and all the hair came off so easily. Love that. I also went with darker colors because my cats, they do not appreciate my white clothing and home decor aesthetic. I'll give you a little advice. If your favorite color to wear and to buy and display in your home is white, maybe don't get black cats. But I love these things so much, it's worth it. Also, I've been playing with them all day, and there is nary an ounce of black cat hair on my sweatpants. I'm feeling really good about that. This one's simple, and I could actually do for an update on this. This is a cat tree that we bought when we first moved here, so probably 5 or 6 years ago. And the cats do use the scratching post on it, as you can see, and it started shredding, and I don't know, I was bored and had some different colored twines laying around and decided to wrap different stripe patterns along the existing posts. So I didn't remove any of the existing material just because it's glued down and stapled in so hard. I don't want to deal with that. So I just wrapped on top of it. It was easy. Didn't need a lot of twine. I mean, this took up maybe half a very small spool of twine that I purchased. But I mostly use this to provide a pop of color. I've had this switched out to be different colors before based on the decor in the living room, and it finally settled on a color palette in the living room that I like, which does involve black. So I wanted to introduce a little bit of black here, even though it's pretty subtle. I also think people are not modding out their cat trees enough, myself included. I've taken parts that the cats do not use and I use them as bookshelves. They never have used this platform, so I'm like, great, I will. I've also attached some pin buttons on the outside of the cat tree here, which they thankfully don't mess with, and it's a fun little aesthetic choice. I would in future love to make my own cat tree, like the whole thing, make it myself, go full custom. That would be really cool. But this cat tree functions just fine. I do not need to make a new one, at least not anytime soon. I kind of want to... Sorry, I'm just brainstorming here, but I kind of want to, at some point, remove all this fabric from around it because it started getting a little bit gross, and potentially doing like a quilted fabric maybe around the whole thing. So just like, I guess, reupholstering the whole thing. Also, bold move to get a white colored cat tree when you have black cats, but I have no regrets about that. I didn't want the cat tree being a large presence because we don't have a very big living room, and it also functions as my home office. So I really wanted a cat tree that matched the color of the walls, and that's really nice because it's huge and takes up a lot of space in the room, but it's not visually too much. That would definitely be my interior design tip for cat people, is if you want your cat tree to blend in, match it more to the room instead of your cat. But that's definitely a big choice because some people are more bothered by seeing the cat hairs on it, in which case match it to the color of your cat or do whatever you want. Okay, this pet DIY is old, gross, and can use an update. I made this ages ago and I've learned a lot since then. The bonus is that the stuffing I used on the side was an old pair of leggings and some old clothes that I had cut up. So it was a recycle or an upcycle of items. And the yarn was kind of fun. You know, it's black, but it had all these different colors in it. But it's really fluffy, and I have since learned that that is a no-go. That's bad. If I want to detract cat hair, I need to use something that is a slippery material. I don't know if I would ever crochet a cat bed again. Too much hair just sticks to it like crazy, that texture. Even if I did use a more slippery yarn, So I think in future, if I ever want to replace this, I would sew something instead and use quilter's cotton just because I found that to be so much easier to get cat hair off of than any other material. And it's affordable and easy to thrift. So there's that too. But Mary loves this. She sleeps in this every single day. Also did not follow a pattern for this and just kind of improvised it. Cat beds are tough though. You never know if your cat's actually going to use them. I am lucky. My cats like anything that I've made, and I have yet to really figure out why. That's initially why I started making them stuff, is because I would buy them stuff and they wouldn't use it, but then I would make it and they would love it. My best guess is it's because of the smell, because if I'm making something, I've touched it a lot and it's been in our home for a while, so the smell's probably integrated already. And then they've also seen me positively interact with the thing that they are potentially going to use. So I think that helps them just appreciate things that I've made more than things that I haven't made. Yeah, and if your cat or pet is the type to chew things up, maybe don't make a cat bed out of yarn because they could choke and die, and that's not great. We don't want that. See what I mean? Look at these supportive little queens. All right, they're only sitting on surfaces that I have made. I made this rug, I crocheted it, they love sleeping on it because it's squishy, and I finished this quilt, and Mary loves it because she's just the sweetest thing in the whole wide world. She knows I made this blanket, I didn't make this one. I know she would prefer to sit on the cushion of this chair, but she's choosing to sit on this. Don't read into it. Let me believe this. Let me just believe that they're specifically sitting on the things I've made because they know. I need that. I need that win. This project is admittedly more for me than for them, but Mary has decided that ottomans are her natural enemy and she must destroy all that appear in our home. I, however, love ottomans, and so despite living in an 800 square foot apartment, I own, I think, 5 or 6 ottomans. So patching them and reupholstering them is just routine maintenance in my home at this point. This was my first time doing sewn on patches directly onto a surface, and I do like the look of it. These are a couple months old, and so they've held up okay, but Mary's a little hurricane, and these are not Mary proof, and I knew that. I knew these were going to be just a temporary solution just to see if something like this would work, and I think something like this would absolutely work in the future. Things I would do differently. 1, use a much stronger, more durable material than just leftover quilter's cotton that I had. 2, the stitches on the side, I would make these much smaller. These are such big stitches that I did because I liked the look of it, and Mary is able to like get her little claw in there and kind of pull them out. I haven't decided yet if in the future I will patch these again, only better next time, or if I will instead just make a cover to slip over the entire thing. So I definitely like this project, but Mary is stronger and it's only a temporary solution. This one really isn't pet specific as much as just a thing I happen to have made for my cat. I also have a matching sign with me and my husband's name on it in a different place in the apartment, but their water bowl is right here. So I just painted on this little sign with their names on it. It is also Velcroed onto the wall. I can't remember what I bought. It was a piece of furniture, and part of the packaging had these like harder composite pulp pieces. Like, they're very stiff. I didn't want to throw them away. I figured they would make a cute sign, and I was right. They do make a cute sign. There is something I made for myself that my cats decided is for them, and having made it, it makes total sense why a cat would like this. This is an acrylic table. The apartment that I live in, they sent out an email to everyone saying, hey, if you have a window AC unit, the window extenders have to be a clear plastic material, which doesn't really exist. Like, they don't sell it like that. It's always an opaque plastic. So my husband bought just a piece of acrylic that we were going to, I guess, cut in a way that could be used in the window, but then the apartment people never really enforced it, and then they went back on it and decided that they weren't going to make that requirement. Then we just had this piece of acrylic laying around, and I decided I wanted a little table to fit over the ottoman, and took a heat gun to it, folded it in 2 places, and now I use this a lot. This has served a greater function than I expected. It normally fits perfectly over the ottoman in my living room, like the black one over there, and perfectly waterfalls over the side. But if I'm doing a craft in the living room and I want to sit on the floor, then I'll like set my things up here and use this as a little table. Or if I'm recording something from above, I'll set my phone on here because it can see through the plastic and work on whatever I'm working on beneath here. Overall, figured out that the cats really like having a clear box that is somewhat small and confined that they can easily get in and out of. And so if I leave this around anywhere, the cats are going to find it and they're going to sit above, below it, play around it. I don't think they realize that me and my husband can see through this. Girl, why are we doing that? For this project, I was just messing around. I got this frame at a thrift store and had some air dry clay lying around. So I just directly on top of the glass of the frame put the air dry clay. And while it was still moldable, I had the cats walk across it, wash their paws very thoroughly after. And then I just took some time and textured the surface of it. I wanted it to look like an archaeologist had uncovered these paw prints and they're like desert fossils was the look I was going for. And then I used some copper paint and painted in the paws just so they would pop a little bit more because they were a little bit too subtle. But the result I'm really happy with. I've had this for about 4 or 5 years. I'm a little bit surprised that the air dry clay has just stuck to the glass frame super well. I don't love using air dry clay for stuff because it just feels like a more temporary material. But for something like this where I'm not engaging with this, like we're not walking around touching this, and it's cute. It's cute. This is something I made intentionally for the cats, though I cannot attest to how much they actually use it. The windowsill in my bedroom is, without this, it sticks out about 4 inches, and so the cats can technically walk across it. It's not super comfortable. It's a little bit tight, and they definitely can't like sit and lay down and chill very comfortably. So I just got a 8x1 plank of oak and stained it to be striped because I saw that on Pinterest and loved it. As I was doing it, I kept being like, gosh, is this just dumb? Am I gonna hate this one day? No, I still love it. Now, I know that the cats do come up here from time to time. I do not know how much time they spend on here and if they ever like lay down and chill. Mostly because the cats are just in whatever room we're in. And so if I'm in this room, I'm usually sleeping and not paying attention to what the cats are doing. So this was something I made for the cats, but ended up liking a lot more for myself. And then it also extended out the dimensions of the windowsill enough where I could use it as a bookshelf. This is where I store all my copies of Lane, and sometimes I'll grab these and read them before bed. So all in all, I adore this project. However, it did not end up being as cat-centric of a project as I expected. Well, I had to laugh at myself. I went to upload the video and realized I completely forgot to talk about the cat toys that I've made. That's a silly thing to do. The first toy that I've made for my cats that is not just a crumpled up ball of paper, which they also love, is this alpaca yarn cat kicker. The nice thing about having used the alpaca yarn, so this is Drops alpaca, and I used just about the smallest crochet hook I had. The more she's played with it, the more it's felted onto itself, where even if I wanted to, there's no way I could unravel this thing. It is so completely stuck onto itself. And that is really nice because I know whenever I talk about cat toys, I always get comments from people saying, well, cats die from choking on yarn. Well, they're not. This is not going to return back to a yarn form ever again. That and my cats aren't chewers. Like they don't really like chewing on things. Second toy I ever made is the same yarn, Drops alpaca, and I made this little blueberry and I was gonna make a leaf for it, but then I got lazy and decided not to because they don't really play with this one. It came out way bigger than I was expecting and I was just curious if they would play with something like this, but it's definitely more of like a small dog's toy. I did put a squeaker on the inside. Did you know that you can just buy squeakers? Probably 6 or 7 years ago, I purchased this little bag of squeakers. And I've been crafting with them or finding excuses to craft with them ever since. Speaking of, combination of the last two. This is a cat kicker that I made a couple weeks ago, and I'll have a video pop up at the end of this one where it's called like working on my haunted fabric or making projects with my haunted fabric. I don't know. But in it, I make a bunch of different projects, and one of them is this fish. So I will link that at the end of this one. And Mary has really loved this one. It is stuffed with catnip, and I also put a squeaker in the head, which I realized I completely forgot to bring up in the video. So I'm bringing it up now. This is probably my favorite. I really like the kickers. They're easy. You just need to make a tube. You stuff it with catnip and scrap fabric and whatever else that won't harm your cat ideally. And they love it. Okay, that is actually the end of the video.